Remember the Alamo, Day 4. As the first week of the siege began to draw to a close, more than 150 Mexican cannon shots had landed in the Alamo plaza. The Texians capitalized on these batteries by collecting the cannonballs and preparing them for reuse. On February the 26th, in an effort to conserve powder and shot, Travis ordered the main artillery to stop firing, allowing only Crockett and his men to keep shooting, as they were proficient marksmen and didn't waste their shots. Through the early days of the siege, the Texians didn't bother to take cover, as the Mexicans were too far out of their range to cause harm with their muskets. Any Mexican soldier who ventured within 200 yards of the Alamo, however, risked death or injury. A strong cold front blew in on the afternoon of the 26th, and typical to the Texas weather pattern, the temperature plummeted to 39 degrees. Neither army had prepared for the cold temperatures. A trip to gather firewood for heat by the Texians resulted only in scattered skirmishes with the Mexicans, and they returned to the fortress empty-handed. As darkness fell on the evening of February the 26th, the Texians left the safety of the walls to burn huts that had provided cover for some of the Mexican troops as they attempted to advance on the mission. Colonel Juan Bringas engaged the Texians on Santa Anna's orders, and according to historical reports, one Texian was killed. Until now, the messengers sent by Travis were having marginal successes in spreading the need for help. News of the siege finally reached James W. Robinson, acting governor, who in turn dispatched a courier to find Sam Houston. Albert Martin had reached Gonzales, the most westerly community of Texians, on February the 25th, the day after Sutherland and Smith had arrived with Travis's first message. As the news of the siege began to spread throughout the settlements, reinforcements began to gather in Gonzales, waiting for Colonel James Fannin to arrive from Goliad. On the morning of February the 26th, at the insistence of his officers, Fannin set out with 320 men, 4 cannons, and several supply wagons for the 90-mile march from Goliad to the Alamo. This garrison had no horses to move the wagons and artillery, and were forced to rely on oxen. One of the wagons broke down moments into their journey, and the expedition was forced to stop for repairs before it had even really begun. With the repairs completed and the journey now back underway, they faced the challenge of crossing the San Antonio River. Though only waist deep, the sheer challenge of crossing this river took over 6 hours to accomplish. The sun had set by the time they'd made it across, forcing the men to set up camp along the river. The cold front brought frigid temperatures and driving rain, and the poorly dressed soldiers were quickly chilled, miserable. As day began to break, Fannin discovered that all of their oxen had wandered off during the night. To his dismay, he also learned that his men had neglected to pack food for the journey. After wasting precious daylight to round up the oxen, the men had not even ventured 1 mile after 2 days of travel. In a letter to Acting Governor James Robinson, Fannin said that his officers approached him to ask that the rescue trip be canceled, as they had received word that General Urrea's army was marching towards Goliad. The officers and men on the expedition claimed that Fannin decided on his own to abort the mission. Dr. Bernard recounts the incident in his journal. With but 300 or 400 men, mostly on foot, with but a limited supply of provisions, to march a distance of nearly 100 miles through uninhabited country for the purpose of relieving a fortress beleaguered by 5,000 men was madness.